everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to do this creepy, ripped apart zombie face mask. All of the colors I'm going to be using are going to be from Kryvaline's new Creamy line. The first step of this design is to put on your base, and I'm using the green and light green. And for the body of the mask, I mixed the two colors together on my sponge. And this was originally supposed to be a zombie butterfly, so that's why it's shaped like that. Didn't really turn out to be that though. The next step is to take a wet wipe and wipe away any areas where you want your skin to show through or you want to put any kind of details. So wherever you want the mask to be ripping, you wipe away. And to add some dimension, I took some fluorescent green and added that to the middle of my sections that were still green. And this is a simple way to give your designs more dimension. But if you want to use this in an event, feel free to leave out all the highlighting I'm doing and the shadowing and just do the outline and the base color, and then it'll be usable at a large event. Any design can be simplified. I'm getting people saying that what I'm showing is too detailed, but I want to show you techniques, and then you can leave out whatever techniques to use it at a large event. I just feel that it's more helpful to show you different shading and highlighting techniques. Right now I'm doing the teeth, and I'm starting with the yellow base, and if you're at a large event, just do white tooth and outline it. And then I'm going to take a white and drag the white up into the yellow. And just make sure your brush isn't too wet for this, and leave the lines kind of showing for texture, and do the same thing with the brown color, but drag the brown from the top of the tooth down and then blend it just a little bit. For the ripped apart flesh, I'm just taking a number 6 brush but working on the very edge of it. And the technique to this is to have a lot of different widths of your strings and then go over them multiple times and kind of wiggle your brush so it looks like it's stringy meat, which is really gross. But I added a little bit of black to my brush too. So I have red and just a tiny bit of black on my brush, and it gives instant natural shading that way. And then for extra shading, I just took a dry black brush and I'm going over the bottoms of my strings, and then use that same effect on anywhere where you have tearing skin on the outside of the mask as well. Just make sure you layer a bunch of the strings over each other. Continue painting your tearing flesh all around your mask, and then make sure to add your shadows with that dry black paint as well. So we already painted the tearing zombie flesh, so now it's time for the tearing zombie skin. And this, of course, is green, and then I just painted right over the red of the flesh, and it dragged the red into the green and added some nice, easy shadowing. And for highlighting, I took a dry consistency yellow paint and put that right along the top of the tears. I also took that yellow and went along the edges of my eyeballs and the edges of the design and of all the tears. And as you can see, I'm layering my highlights and my shadows in this face paint. And when you do this, it will add so much more dimension to your painting. When you want to be quick, you can just do white, but when you want a really dynamic and detailed design, layer your highlights and shadows. So instead of just doing white, I did light green and then yellow and then white. And here I did brown, and now I'm dragging in black. And this will help your design to look a lot more three-dimensional. For my final layer of shadowing, I used very, very dry black paint, and I applied this to 2 areas. As you can see here, I applied it under details such as the eyeballs, and then also in between anywhere my highlights were, like you see me doing here. Where my highlights aren't, I shadowed, and this helps to push those areas back and make the skin look a lot more three-dimensional. So underneath your tearing skin, underneath any details is where you add that shadow. And then you're going to finish off the eyes. I used the blue by the Creamy Kryvaline, and then I just kind of polka dotted some light blue around the edge of the iris there. And then finally a simple black dot for the pupil. To add the vein on the eyes, just use a really thin brush, just the very tip of it, kind of wiggle it around like you've had too much coffee. It's pretty easy. And then add a highlight for the shine in the eye. Now I'm highlighting the torn flesh, and the trick to this is when you're highlighting something that's supposed to be wet and bumpy, do it in dots. Don't do like smooth lines. So just dot your white across it, and that'll give the illusion that it's wet and has texture. Now the zombie skin is not wet, so I just use the smooth lines to highlight, and I'm not being very careful. It's supposed to be messed up and messy, so this design is easy. It doesn't have to be perfect. And my paint is relatively dry so that I had more control of it. Drier paint gives you more control of your work. And it's finally time to outline. So with very thin black lines, I'm just going around the edges and pulling them in wherever I thought it might look interesting. And if I had some open space, I just pulled in a line to add some design there. Just continue to go along and fill in your design. And for the teeth, what I did is I outlined them, and then I pulled my brush up at the bottom and also put a little line from the top going down, and that helps the teeth to look cracked and rotten and like they're decaying. To make my eyes appear more sunken in, I took black Star Blend powders and a regular makeup brush and put that in the inner and outer corners of my eyes and on the bottom of my eyes. And then using black paint and very thin lines, I added fine lines and wrinkles to the bottom of my eyes. Oh yeah, almost done. To finish off the design, I put light green paint on my lips and shadowed that with regular green on the outer corners of my lips. And then I finally finished that off by taking black powder and applying that to the outer edges of the lips and the inner corner of my lips. And then this is a really cool BAM stencil. It's like a paint splatter. And I put blood coming out of my mouth and then highlighted the blood using that dotting technique that I used on the ripped apart flesh. And that's it. I'm done. I hope that you guys liked this and that you can use some of the techniques you learned in this video. If you haven't done so already, please like, comment, and subscribe. My Facebook is listed below along with all of the products I used in this video. Have a happy Halloween, everyone.